Welcome to another episode of Intellectual Dummies. It is March 9th, 2025. We got a lot to get to this week. I'm your host, Lucas Nagra. This is my co-host, Mike DeSimone. And before we get started, please like, comment, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Let us know how much you love us.
Especially how much you hate us. Also follow us on X.
And X too, yes. Follow us on X. Now, the biggest thing this week has been the controversy over Trump's speech. And it's weird because, it was only really controversial if you were on the left. You hated everything that he said. And if you're on the right, of course, you loved everything that he said. The biggest takeaway from that whole thing, in my opinion, I think everybody's opinion, including people on the left, was the vitriol that the leftist politicians have for Trump, where they're not giving him any points, even on the pettiest of things. Maybe petty's not the right word, but like things we all should be clapping for, that you're not clapping for, tells everybody on both sides that you're not a team player. Now, here's a couple clips of Democrats not clapping for things we all should be clapping for.
Last year, I told Lakin's grieving parents that we would ensure their daughter would not have died in vain. That's why the very first bill I signed into law as your 47th president mandates the detention of all dangerous criminal aliens who threaten public safety. It's a very strong, powerful act. Thank you. My administration is also working to protect our children from toxic ideologies in our schools. A few years ago, January, Little John and her husband discovered that their daughter's school had secretly socially transitioned their 13-year-old little girl. Teachers and administrators conspired to deceive January and her husband while encouraging her daughter to use a new name and pronouns. They, them pronoun, actually, all without telling January, who is here tonight and is now a courageous advocate against this form of child abuse. January, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Stories like this are why, shortly after taking office, I signed an executive order banning public schools from indoctrinating our children with transgender ideology.
All right, so we just saw that video. Democrats' Stonewall expressions as Republicans are standing clapping for families that got the Lake and Riley family, another family that got a park named after him, a kid with cancer, and it even got as bad as Democrats just walking out entirely and talking a bunch of crap behind the scenes. And here's a video for that.
This is a terrible nightmare. Somebody slap me and wake me the up because I'm ready to get on with it. I don't know why we fight with Greenland. Why we fight with Greenland? We fighting with Canada. We fighting with Mexico. Yet we in love with Putin. What is happening? Like, this is not America.
Yeah, so what do we think about that?
What don't we think about? First of all, that last video, they're out in the rotunda, right outside of where the President of the United States is speaking. Those are your elected officials. Those are Congress people acting that way. Right outside a speech to a joint session of Congress. It's fucking disgusting. And I know the left is going to want to say things such as Joe Wilson screaming "You lied" during Obama's speech, or there was Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert there that had a little bit of an outburst during Biden's address in 2022, I believe, but nothing that they did compared to what we are seeing here. Nothing even, it pales in comparison. Absolutely.
Because that's the thing is like, when Republicans had those outbursts, those were certainly like outliers.
Yes.
Nobody liked that.
No.
But when you have everybody not clapping for things that everybody should be clapping for to show at least some type of unity.
Well, exactly. I mean,
it's childish.
That boy. I think that might be the most egregious, but they're all pretty goddamn egregious. But the 13-year-old brain cancer survivor there, I mean, that literally made me sick, and I don't have his name in front of me, and I wish I did. But the gentleman that got into West Point, if you watch that speech live, or if you watch it now, you can see his eyes bulge out of his head. He didn't know that was coming. He had no idea. That kid had no idea that he got approved in the West Point. And the look of pure dread. To not even stand up for that, this is going to be a future military leader.
I know.
They said his GPA was like 4.46 or something, a 6-letter varsity athlete. You can't stand up for that kid?
Yeah.
You pieces of shit.
It's absolutely insane.
And you know, what's interesting too is because we talk about, you know, you see it in some of the news articles now that some of the leadership of the Democratic Party is upset about what took place there. You know, the Chuck Schumers and stuff like that don't think that what the Democrats did was particularly useful. But I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about it. I mean, you have a girl whose brains were bashed in by a volleyball. You know, like you had mentioned, the girl that gets a park in Texas named after her, after she was killed by an illegal immigrant, like a 7 or 8-year-old girl.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ, what? They stand for nothing. They stand for nothing, and it's all, you know, it's talked about so much. The TDS, the Trump derangement syndrome, has gotten to a point where there is none of what they're doing makes sense. None of what they're talking about makes sense.
Yeah, if you can't stand for anything, you'll fall for anything. And that's exactly what the Democratic Party is. Now, the kid with cancer, his name's DJ.
DJ, yes.
Nicole Wallace and Rachel Maddow were talking about DJ on their show. And here's a short clip of that.
He has a long life as a law enforcement officer, but I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide.
So what do we think about that comment? What an insane thing to even speculate, talk, or bring up. Ridiculous. What do you think about that?
You know, I've thought about this ever since it happened. I really have. It's been one of those things that's kind of been on the forefront of my mind. And I'm going to tell you what I think. I think I'm embarrassed that I ever considered myself a liberal. Rachel Maddow and Nicole Wallace were two of the biggest money-producing hosts for MSNBC. Nicole Wallace has had ratings slipping for a while now, but after that, they've gone right into the toilet. I saw one survey that showed she's barely getting 100,000 views a night now.
Wow.
I don't even know what to say anymore. You know, that was like one of the most sincere moments I've ever seen in my life, especially when he hugged the Secret Service agent. Did you see that?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, this is just a pure family, American family. He's got his dad there with him. You know, and then when the other kid got in the West Point, he walks over and gives him a high five. Remember that?
Yeah.
You know? And here you have these two women on MSNBC a half an hour later with comments like that. I am embarrassed to have ever considered myself a Democrat. That's how I feel about it. Embarrassed.
Me too.
And it's just those are my thoughts. I don't know. What about you?
No, I mean, I think you said it all. I mean, I'm embarrassed too. I mean, you're talking to, two people. I mean, when Hillary Clinton ran against Trump, I voted for Hillary Clinton.
As did I.
But I left when I saw all this insanity coming. I saw it coming right down the pike. So, yeah, absolutely disgusting.
Any positives that you take away from Trump's speech besides these ridiculous things?
Positives is, you know what? He's been doing a lot of good things. All the issues that are 80-20 in America, he just immediately
jumped all over him
and fixed them. You know, you're talking about he tried to get the men and women's sports passed, but every single Democrat voted against it, and I think killed it, right?
They filibustered it, yeah.
That's insane. I mean, even right here in Massachusetts, Ed Markey voted against it.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Warren, too. She's also a senator. We need to get them the fuck out.
Yeah.
We need to get them the fuck out. That's insane. We don't want this in Massachusetts. Massachusetts is very left. Are we that left?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. Outside of Boston, definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah, go west of the 495 belt.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're not thinking like that.
No, they're not. I'm gonna be honest with you. I look at Trump in his first presidency and in this second term here, and I thought his speech was inspirational. I thought it showed a vision of America that he has that Americans can get behind. I thought it was a very hopeful speech for the future.
Yeah.
For what we can become. He talked about going to Mars. You know, he has goals. He has ambitions. He talked about trying to find peace. I actually found it to be a great speech. And on that note, by the way, when I talk about trying to find peace, the only thing the Democrats clapped for, there was only one thing in the whole speech. What was it? The only thing that they clapped for in the entire time was when President Trump mentioned how many billions of dollars we've been sending to Ukraine.
Yeah. Yeah, that
was what they clapped for.
For war.
And I think maybe one of the greatest moments was when he said, you guys would probably clap. You'd probably want to go on for another 5 years. And then he says, well, look at Pocahontas. She sure does. And the camera pans to Elizabeth Warren as she's sitting there.
Yeah, she's clapping and
clapping
smiling.
like a fucking seal.
Yeah. That was hilarious. That was hilarious. But that was also sad.
It was sad.
That was the only thing that they found unity on.
Yeah.
Or not even unity. That's the only thing that they clapped for was a proxy war against Russia. That's where we're sending boatloads of money.
Yeah.
Zelensky, too. Here's a fucked up video of him real quick. Now that dude has $1.2 billion in the bank account. How did that happen? You know, I mean, let's just put two and two together right now. All the money has not been accounted for that we sent over there. Bunch of money missing. I forget what the numbers are. And that dude's a billionaire. And now he's over here asking for more money. Yeah, no, that's insane.
No, I just found it to be one of the... I do find... what's funny is you listen to the pundits, right? When I say the pundits, I mean the left-leaning pundits who will say, the political divide in this country. It's actually not that much of a political divide. Despite what the camera showed and all the Democrats are sitting down or they're walking out or you have Al Green shaking a cane at the president, which was just an embarrassing moment. I mean, it's actually not that divided when you think about it. Because, again, these are 80-20 issues. 80-20 issues.
Absolutely.
What you have is a political party that has become a fringe movement, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I don't really think there's that much of a political divide in this country, to be honest with you. There's a reason why his approval rating still floats in the high 40s, low 50s. There's a reason why his speech afterwards got 68 to 73% approval ratings.
Yeah.
Where's that political? It's not political. That's a 2/3 majority. Let's not divide. So that's my thought on it.
Yeah. Well, we asked what you guys thought about this whole thing. So let's go to the comments section.
The comments.
Quick disclaimer in the comments section. Make sure you guys proofread. All right. Our friend Jim Thornton said, as you know, I'm not a fan of the president, in parentheses. However, there's a time and place for everything. The Capitol building and that particular event is not the time. Trump's speech was full of non-truths, as usual. Speak your mind to the press. And I mean, he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place.
Yeah.
That was not the time or the place. And that goes for Marjorie Taylor Greene, Joe Manchin, and whoever else.
Yeah.
That goes for everybody. Paul Nigro said, the Democratic Party is a bunch of corrupt politicians that have had their hand in the cookie jar for decades. Now they're finally being exposed. I am glad they acted like that during this speech. It just showed the American people that did not vote for Trump. Hold on. Let me read that over. And Paul Nigro wrote, the Democratic Party is a bunch of corrupt politicians that have had their hand in the cookie jar for decades. Now they're finally being exposed. I'm glad that they acted like that during his speech. It just showed the Americans that did not vote for Trump. It just showed them the lack of decorum. What they voted for almost guaranteed, in my opinion, Democrats lost votes just by being themselves. And I mean, I think that's right. I mean, the lack of decorum,
Before you go on, I have to say I've seen several videos now of Democrats, like, people in their cars and stuff, just, regular, everyday Americans saying that they were just so ashamed to be a Democrat and disgusted by what happened that night. But go ahead, keep going, sorry.
So we got Nicole Cross said, Trump's speech was incredible and he outlined exactly what I voted for. The entire speech was clear, concise, and drove the ideas of America First home. My family and I sat there feeling extremely patriotic and are excited to see his plans continue to come to fruition.
Yeah, patriotic. That was a great.
Absolutely.
I mean, what a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah. We are finally hopeful about the direction of our country after the last 4 years. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are feeling that way.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, those surveys show it that people feel we're actually heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah, exactly. Democrats, per usual, behavior was shameful and revolting. I mean, not standing for a little kid with cancer or the mother of a child slaughtered by immigrants? Come on. And don't even get my husband started on their paddles or Al Green. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had Ann Fraser was just commented on everybody being like, I agree.
Thank you, Ann.
Yeah, nice to hear from you, Ann. It's been a while. Brian Peters said, great speech. Better president than Biden, Clinton, and Obama's. Even the Democrats didn't stand or clap for a cancer survivor, but stood up and clapped for a convicted felon, George Fentanyl Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Jacob Blake, Michael Brown. And Obama even mentioned rest in peace, Michael Brown, in a speech. I mean, those are the people that they praise. We had Maria Opedisano said, I thought President Trump was wonderful, touting accomplishments that Democrats could only dream of. $billion contracts for new businesses coming from all over the world, safer streets for all Americans, etc. Actually, no Democrats don't dream of these things. They only seem to care about enriching themselves through scams, drug cartels, and child trafficking, to name a few. When they truly put their average, when have they truly put the average American first? Their conduct last night was shameful, repulsive. They acted like a bunch of spoiled children not even clapping for special moments that should have been considered nonpartisan. She worded that perfectly.
Yes, she did.
What kind of monster are you when you can't even clap for a kid with cancer who wants to be a cop and gets a badge from Secret Service? Most of America is so over the Dems with their sourpusses sitting in Congress with their full ignorance on display, accomplishing nothing. The American people have spoken, but loser Dems continue their soulless journey away from God and the American dream. Very well put.
Yeah.
Very
no,
well
that's
put.
a great comment. That's a great comment.
Very well put. And again, Ann Fraser just going down the list, saying she agrees. Thank you, Ann, again. Now, what was interesting here, because, like I said, in the comment section, I'm not going to debate with you. I just want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
And I just want you to clarify. Yeah. If I have a question, I might just have you clarify a point, right?
Right.
So I asked Jim Thornton, like, what are some untruths that you saw in Trump's speech?
Right.
So just I'll read through a couple of these. He said, thanks for being open-minded. By non-truths or inaccuracies, I mean Doge have founded hundreds of billions of dollars, and that's not even close to the estimate to be 1/3 of that number. Now I know Doge has some of the numbers, like one time they typed in like 3 billion instead of like 3 million or something, or I think it was 8 or whatever. But I'm sure there's definitely some inaccuracies in that. I would only say that the point of Doge is to make sure we know where our money is going to. Now I don't care if it's 100 billion or 100 million.
Yeah.
I don't want anything to be wasted.
Right.
And there's a lot of things being wasted.
Right.
Now, the next point was funding for transgender mice, ! Shouldn't his staff have fact-checked that stuff? He speaks first and checks later. Now, that is kind of true to an extent, right? So the funding for transgender mice and monkeys, there's a little bit of hyperbole in that, right? So when I researched this, there was a study being done that was feminizing monkeys. So they were giving monkeys hormones, female hormones, to test for the effects of HIV.
Okay.
So I don't think they were necessarily giving them, like, cutting off the monkey's body parts and giving them dresses and stuff like that.
Right.
But
little monkey
but
dresses.
they were giving them female hormones as a study for HIV. So transgender mice and monkeys, like, yeah, that's hyperbole, but we're almost there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I mean, I see your point, but the study happened nonetheless. Maybe it wasn't specifically transgender, wasn't the proper word, but that was a little bit weird. Tariffs, which we'll be getting to, taking hundreds of millions of dollars, sure, perhaps, but from the American consumer. Who else pays for the increased import costs? I mean, you're right about that. We're going to be covering that momentarily. Biden caused the price of eggs to rise. Avian flu caused the problem. Unless Biden sneezed in the wrong chicken coop, this is a blatant political BS. And we're going to be getting to that momentarily as well.
We will.
The U.S. is paying trillions of dollars more than any other source. Again, BS. We have pledged anew $100 million with an M.
What is that in reference to?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's talking about trade deficits. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I should have clarified that, but whatever. Well, my thumbs are tired. I appreciate your efforts and fair minds. Stay away from the Kool-Aid. Thanks.
Well, I mean, look, it's not Kool-Aid, right? I mean, the Doge has found billions of wasted dollars.
Yeah.
Let's just stop. Full stop.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, come on. Let's be honest about that. And this country, not being sure exactly what that comment was referring to with the trillions of dollars, but what I would say is that this country pays hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars more than most of Europe combined towards the World Health Organization, towards NATO, towards defense spending on other countries.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is true. These are facts. You know what I mean? So Trump trying to even that playing field is long fucking overdue, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And let's get into the cost of eggs real quick.
Yeah.
Right? So Democrats are always like, he said he was going to lower the price of eggs. He said he was going to lower the price of eggs. Meanwhile, Trump is blaming Biden for the cost of eggs, right? Now, I was wondering to myself, why are they stuck on just the price of eggs and not gas prices or groceries as a whole or anything like that? And I was wondering why. And the reason why is because what Jim pointed out, the avian flu wiped out millions, tens of millions of chickens.
Yeah.
So it's a supply and demand issue.
Right.
Now, Democrats knew that it was going to take a long time for eggs to come back down because we basically have to now breed tens of millions of more chickens to
Well,
lay
yeah, the
eggs.
Biden administration had to kill a lot of these
They did.
hens.
They absolutely did.
And that's through no fault of their own. It was the only way to mitigate the avian flu. In fairness, right? You got to be fair about it. But yeah, no, to point to it as an economic issue is nonsense.
Yeah.
It's not an economic issue.
It's not. Or very little. Like, I'm sure maybe they went up as the same degree as on average as every other thing.
Sure.
But the bulk of the increase was absolutely the avian flu.
Right.
And that's why I think they're just poking at that. Like, hey, you haven't done this yet. It's like, because you know the truth.
Yeah.
And
What is he
you're
gonna
trying to obfuscate against what's actually happening.
Right.
You know, you're just trying to confuse people. You're trying to get people to... Because, I mean, most people, let's get real, don't look into this.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No, they're going to just hear the price of eggs.
Yeah, it's a supply and demand issue. That's why they're harping on that particular grocery so hard, because that particular one's going to be the hardest one to reduce the prices on.
Right.
You know? And it's like, Trump has been in office for what, like a couple months? It's like, and they're already like, he hasn't done this, he hasn't done that, he hasn't done this. It's like, dude, the dude's trying to end wars, you know, like, relax. You know, it's been 2 months.
Yeah.
Okay, not everything's going to get fixed overnight, although he has moved ultra lightning fast.
Ultra fast.
And he's already accomplished so much.
Yeah, he has.
So much.
Yeah.
You know, and even Ben Shapiro said there's going to be so much winning, you're going to get tired of winning.
Right.
Right. You know, I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, we're well on track. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I'm willing to give it more than 2 months for him to turn some situations around.
Yeah.
And unless he knows how to shit chickens, there's not much he can do about this right now.
Exactly. I mean, the corporations are taking care of it. They want their money back.
Yeah, of course.
You know, so.